Hey, how's it going? Welcome to week 10 of my D&D Diary. This week in the Tomb of Annihilation game, my players are in Kir Sabal, specifically Ajan the Aarakocran monk and Torb the Dwarven barbarian. Now, previously in the Tomb of Annihilation campaign, Ajan had met with Kwayothé, one of the merchant princes. She had recognized him as an Aarakocra, but specifically an Aarakocra that isn't from Kir Sabal, which is really useful for her. The merchant princes extend their power over all of Chult. They can do this because the royals of Chult are in hiding, but there are rumors that an heir to the throne of Chult is living in Kir Sabal with the Aarakocra. So she pays Ajan a 400 gold piece advance, with 400 gold pieces if he completes his task of going and carousing with Kor, a known Kir Sabali Aarakocra who comes to Port Naranzaru to bet on the dinosaur races. Her ultimate goal is for Ajan to go and to kill the heir to the throne, making sure that the merchant princes will never be usurped. Ajan takes the money and enlists Torb as well to help him on this mission. He gives Torb 200 gold pieces and they both spend their money immediately. Ajan understands that if he were to disobey her, there might be some nasty consequences. So Ajan meets with Kor and they become fairly good friends at the dinosaur races. And Kor invites Ajan back to the monthly festival that they hold at Kir Sabal. Ajan declines the offer, but promises to come next month because he has to go and kill a dragon. Which brings us to now, when Ajan and Torb have made it to Kir Sabal. The festival is in a couple of days, and they're very close to carrying out Kwayothé's goal of eliminating the heir to the throne of Chult. They come up with a few plans. They've never been to the royal's house, avoiding it to keep suspicion away from themselves. They did talk to the locals, and they found out that the house on the cliffside between the leader's house, Ashara, and the monastery is the place where the royal has been staying. And so they come up with a plan. Ajan is going to go to the festival with all the other Aarakocra. Torb has been told that he's not allowed to attend the festival. He will stay behind, and while everyone else is at the festival in the monastery, he will go around to the royal's house and take care of the heir. This is a fairly good plan. However, Kir Sabal is not a regular town, and it's a bunch of houses that are stuck into a cliff face. This is fine for Aarakocra, but it makes it really difficult to travel around the town as a dwarf. And the second thing that threw a spanner in the works is Kor had left the details of the festival unknown to Ajan. And so when Ajan attended the festival, it seemed like the entire town was there, except he noticed that Ashara wasn't there. And when the monks performed their ritual, the entire monastery disappeared and reappeared in the plane of air. And that is why the ritual is only for Aarakocra, because every month the Kir Sabali Aarakocra travel back to the plane of air to have a festival with the Wind Dukes themselves. Now, we established some backstory for Ajan. When he was just a kid, he attempted to steal the Wand of Healing, which is one of the 7 parts of the Rod of 7 parts. For that crime, he was banished to the Prime Material Plane, and that's where he spent most of his life. He still has a dream of putting together the Rod of 7 parts, but now that he's here with the Wind Dukes of Aqua, Torb is going to have a really tough time on his own. So he asks some of the other monks if they can help him, and together they make a portal and they transport him back to the Prime Material. In the time Ajan was in the plane of air, Torb was making his way over to the royal's house. Noticing that the monastery was missing, he scaled the rock wall and makes it over to the royal house. There he meets Mwoxanare, the Chultan princess, who is 17, and upon noticing this non-Aarakocran humanoid, instantly falls in love with him. She introduces Torb to her little brother, Na, who is a 6-year-old boy and loves to dress up as an Aarakocra. Immediately, Torb is conflicted. He's the only one in the party who isn't evil aligned. and he doesn't wish to be evil alone. He devises a plan where he can play both sides. He tells the children that they're in grave danger and they must come with him. But once he manages to take them outside, he runs into Ashara. Ashara did not trust Ajan and Torb, and specifically did not go to the plane of air this month. About this time, Ajan gets back, and he comes in and helps Torb try to talk to Ashara. But Ashara is having none of it. She has 2 Aarakocra monk guards defending her. They leave the kids at the royal's house, and she takes the 2 party members up to her place to discuss the situation. She explains to them, because they have trespassed in the royal's house, she must sentence them to death. Now, Ashara is way out of her depth. She only has 2 guards, and she has herself. And she can cast a few spells, but most of them aren't offensive spells. The players talk to her, and she offers them a bargain. They will have to go and kill Kwayothé. She asks them to sign a contract in blood. She is just bluffing here. She can't do any blood pact type magic, but she's just hoping that she can scare these 2 individuals into helping her out. They get too spooked and they decide, we'll just kill the guards. So they kill the guard. Torb gets injured, so Ajan offers him a health potion, but as we know, it's actually a poison potion and he takes even more damage. Although, luckily he is a barbarian, so he was able to tank that damage. They killed Ashara pretty easily, and they walked back over to the royal's place. Torb goes in and he gets the children and he brings them out. He's lying to them, he's telling them that they're in grave danger and that they need to leave Kir Sabal right now. Mwaxanare rolls insight and she gets like a 2. So she says, I trust you with my life. And she comes out, and when she's turned around, he slits her throat. Ajan comes down and crushes the young boy Nah, and Ajan picks up Torb and they fly off into the sunset. It was an extremely heavy session just because the emotional weight of what they were doing, compounded by the fact that they had just killed the last royals to the legitimate throne of Chult, and they had just done a completely evil act of killing innocent children in cold blood. Luckily, in the Curse of Strahd campaign, things were much more cheery for whatever reason. We make it into Valicai, and we go to the Blue Water Inn. I should mention, the player playing the bard, Ivern, is in Valicai, even though they don't allow Vistani into Valicai. He's gone in under an alias, and we're not sure whether it's like a split personality or just a really deep alias, but everyone in Valicai calls him Orn. At this point, we spend a night in the inn, and we're given dozens of plot lines. The Paladin, the Barbarian, and I'm playing a swashbuckler rogue. We were going to head to Lady Watch's house, who is like the second major power in Valicai. And the other 3, the Wizard, the Warlock, and the Bard, they were going to head to the Burgermeister's house. However, some things go wrong. The Paladin and I decide to have a game of cards. And while we're doing this, the Warlock had taken some vials from the hag's house, and he'd found one that just said laughter. So he thought nothing could be bad about this. He pops open the vial and dunks it into a bottle of purple grape mash number 3. He passes the bottle around, and I drink from it, but the Paladin is not really keen on alcohol. During the night, the Wizard who burnt down the hag's house is tormented by a hag in his dreams. The Warlock and I, when we woke up into a fit of laughter, and we had exhaustion because we were now diseased with cackling madness, which is an infectious disease that basically means we're exhausted for 3 to 13 days. And whenever we're in a stressful situation, we have to roll a constitution save, and if we fail, we fall to the ground and laugh for a minute. I love this. This is amazing. And if it goes badly, we end up with a form of indefinite madness, which can be crippling to a character. So I'm super excited to see what I'll get. If I get a madness, that is. Early in the morning, the barbarian leaves to go to the Lady Watcher's house before any of us get a chance. Because this happens, the paladin decides to go and do some honest work to earn some money, and he goes and fixes a few chimneys. The bard goes to the blacksmith to start work on silvering some of our weapons, and the wizard and the warlock, they head to the priest to see if they can get fixed, because they are both exhausted and they feel like they need some spiritual healing. Which leaves me at the inn. So I decide, since I have some spare time, I may as well run down to Blinksey's and see if I can find a toy. So I go down to Blinksey's and I find that a lot of the toys there are very quite morbid. There's toys of little guillotines, there's a babushka doll where the insides of the doll gets older and older, and eventually there's a coffin. There's all sorts of morbid toys, but I'm just looking for a few plain dolls. I figured I could give some to the innkeeper's children, and I could give one to the girl that we rescued from the hags, and I could keep one and take it to the Vistani in exchange for some rum. Since I was such a willing customer and I was happy to pay his price, I didn't barter with him. He decided to chuck in the babushka dolls as a present of good faith. And that's where the session ended. There were plenty of other plot lines, but since my character wasn't there, I'm not going to describe them now. I'm going to see where the characters go, and then I maybe talk about it if it's relevant. Anyway, that was this week. Have a nice day.